Jose Alvarado's journey has come full circle. He's a Brooklyn kid, a Christ the King star, and now a New York Knick playing at Madison Square Garden. At the heart of that journey is the coach who helped shape him, Christ the King boys varsity basketball head coach Joe Arbitello. Coach Arbitello played a huge role in the development of the new Knicks point guard, and he was in the building for Jose's first home game at MSG on Tuesday night. Now, Coach joins me to talk about his former player. Coach, what's up? Long time no see. I remember the days of covering your team in Middle Village. Now I get to see you here. How you doing, man?
Doing great, man. I really appreciate you inviting me on.
Oh,
It's a big deal. It's been a great couple of days.
No,
so thank you.
I'm sure it has. And we'll start with this. We'll start with this, Joe, because you were in the building at MSG last night for Jose's first home game as a Knick. So take us inside that moment. I know you had some pretty nice seats. When he checked into the game and the crowd erupted because they gave him a nice ovation, what was going through your mind?
Man, so I thought they were going to check him in when there was like a dead ball, but they checked him in after the timeout. So I didn't think anybody would applaud for him. But when he stepped on the court, the place just started, going crazy for him. And you heard a couple of guys going, Jose, Jose, Jose. And me and my coach and his uncle, Nick Sanchez, were sitting there and we're like, this is making my hair stand up on my arms. It was really a surreal moment.
No, it really was. I was in the building covering the game, and there were some people around me doing the Jose chant, so it was good. It took me back to my days going to some Mets games, looking at Jose Reyes, and now I got the Jose chant back in New York, so you like to see that. Now, for the folks who don't know, Jose, he grew up in Brooklyn, played at Christ the King, where Joe still coaches, and now he's wearing a Knicks jersey at MSG. So how much does that full circle story mean for your program with Christ the King and for New York City basketball as a whole?
When it happened, I didn't think it was that big of a deal. Like you got traded to the Knicks, and then my phone wouldn't stop ringing, and all of New York is behind the Knicks. It's crazy to just be a part of that. And when he called me on Friday and told me how happy he was to be a Knick and how he can't believe that this is happening to him and that God has a plan for him, and thank you, coach, and this is where I'm supposed to be. That's when I really started to realize how special of a moment I'm in with him and he's a part of. And I think that's where it hit me. And I realized that, wow, this kid is now in New York Knick. That is truly an amazing thing. And we're just blessed to be part of the journey.
Yeah, blessed to see him in a Knicks uniform right now. And obviously you coach Jose at Christ the King. So back then, let's just go back to when he was playing in Middle Village. When you watched him dive in on the floor, right, picking up full court, playing with that edge that everybody sees from him, how much of that is the same kid from Williamsburg who refused to back down from anybody? How much of that toughness did you see then from him?
It's the exact same kid, when he knocked the ball away from Siakam and went flying. It's the exact same kid. If he was playing in my 8th grade camp, where we have about 200 kids, or if he's at the rec center, or if he was just playing one-on-one with somebody, that's who he is. He can't turn it off. There's no turn-off switch. And I got to see him after the game, and he walks out with that face that you just want to punch because the guy takes losing like there was a death in the family or the world blew up. And since he's been in the 8th grade, it's the same face. So he has not changed one bit, and I truly believe at this point that
he's the same player as you saw in that same intensity. So I take it, Coach. He really was not happy about that loss. Obviously, a tough one to the Pacers the other day. He really was carrying that. You expect him to bounce back from that loss?
Yeah, until he wins, he'll probably bounce back after the next win because that's just who he is, and he's probably beating himself up all day today. We weren't even going to stay. Me and Coach Sanchez, we weren't going to stay there because we knew how miserable he was going to be. So he's like, do we stay? We had the family passes. I'm like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see him. But he won't get over it until the next win.
I like that. Knicks fans are going to like that. They're going to like to hear that he's taking the losses. Not hard, but he doesn't want to lose. He wants to win. He's really all about winning. And so this brings me to my next thing here, Coach, because there's been a lot of talk about how his toughness and his grit that we just talked about fits the Knicks' identity, as well as, his defensive instinct, the sneaky steals we see from him, the anticipation, if you want to call it the Grand Theft Alvarado mentality. When he was in high school, because you talked about that being in him, was that something you had to teach, or was that just who Jose Alvarado always was?
I mean, look, if you look at his game, he's he doesn't shoot it great. He doesn't he doesn't have great athleticism. So the thing, his toughness was the thing that just put him above everybody else. His toughness, his grit, those things he's always had. And then he improved on those other skills, shooting it, handling the ball. His instincts was always there. He was always in the pass lanes for the ball. That Grand Theft Alvarado stuff, when he did it in high school, if you see any videos of me and him when he would do that, you would see me screaming at him, telling him it's never going to work. You're going to go to college. They're going to sit you on the bench because the stupidest thing I've ever watched anybody do. And I was like, forget about the NBA. Then you do that in the NBA, you're going to get laughed off the court. But I guess everybody's laughing at me now because it seems like it's the thing that is making him famous, and he's getting away with it. It really works on the next two levels. So I'll be the first to admit I was wrong, and I probably shouldn't have yelled at him like that.
Okay, so you admitted that you were wrong, but has he ever hit you back up, called you, said, Coach, hey, remember you told me not to do that, but it's been working for me now. I've been getting these steals. Has he ever sort of playfully, rubbed it in your face there?
Yeah, not as nice as you just said it. And only a way that Jose could have said it to me. I showed a picture when he was in the 8th grade and Nick Sanchez brought him to our camp. I said to Coach, I was like, this guy's 30 years old. He looked older. And I was like, he's just outworking people because he's older and stronger than them. And then by Wednesday, after he tried to win every award and I realized he was the right age, I said, I really, really want that kid. Like that's the kid I want. And he wasn't highly touted guy. Nobody really knew about him. And I was, it was easy for me to get him. And, I was on a text with him and Nick Sanchez. And I sent the picture of him in a camp, and I said, "This is why I thought you were 30 years old and owned a bodega. You have facial hair." And so he was laughing and it said something slick back to me, as only Jose can. He's a good kid. He can get his point across in about 2 or 3 words.
I know that well. I could only imagine. A couple more things for me, Coach. One of the things that stood out to me in his first 2 games that you saw him with the Knicks, because you always think it's interesting when a guy comes to a new team, but what stood out to me was his poise. He didn't look overwhelmed by the Garden moment. I know it was a tough night against the Pacers. Didn't look overwhelmed by the spotlight the first game in Boston. So when did you realize that he had that kind of big stage mentality? Because it's one thing to have the intensity, but it's another thing to be able to play on the big stage. So when did you realize that this is a guy who has the ability to play on the big stage?
Sophomore year versus Lehigh, at Lehigh, unknown kid, not being recruited. Tom Crean, who was at Indiana at the time, was there to see a kid that I was coaching named Raleigh Alkins. And I think North Carolina was there. There was a bunch of schools there. Raleigh was a highly touted junior. And Jose he put on an absolute show. It was the biggest game in New York of the year. They were really good. We were really good. And Jose wound up with almost a triple-double with steals and rebounds, not even assists. And that's when I knew there was no moment too big for Jose. And I realized at that point that Jose will do whatever it takes to win the basketball game. If that means he has to go grab 10 rebounds with the Monsters, he's going to go and do it.
He was a player that did whatever it would take to win at the high school level. We've seen that here now. So for those who don't know, what was Jose like as a leader at Christ the King? Was he vocal? Was he more of a lead by example guy? And how do you see those leadership traits translating into the Knicks locker room that's chasing a deep playoff run right now?
I mean, he's a lead by example guy, but he's vocal too. Like if you're not doing what you're supposed to be doing to win a game, like he's going to let you know it. And he doesn't really have a lot of finesse when he's letting you know it. I don't know if that's changed, but in high school he didn't have a lot of finesse, So it came out the way it should come out. Like, yo, my man, you are not doing what you're supposed to do. He didn't try to sugarcoat it or anything like that. And I think that's the kind of thing that New York fans respect. I think that's the kind of thing that teammates respect and they love about him, is that he's very much to the point. It's the little things I watch. Like if you watch the game last night, I'm sitting right there. And on every time out, he's the first guy out there giving people high fives, talking to them and telling them, good job, don't worry about it. You know, the other thing with Jose is like, from a coach's perspective, his teammates, I always said to him, his teammates could never do anything wrong. They could turn the ball over 15 times in a row, and he would be like, what? You know, oh, why are you messing with him for? Like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. He turned it over 15 times in a row. His loyalty to his teammates is parallel to nobody else.
And that helps. That helps a lot with leadership. That loyalty will help a lot. Last thing for me here, Coach. You've coached a lot of talent over the years in Middle Village, and I've got to see some of that front and center. I know that it's a proud moment. You talked about it, to see Jose back home, but have you thought about this? What would it be like for you to see him win an NBA title in a Knicks uniform? Because you saw him play in a game at Madison Square Garden last night. I know that was a proud moment, but have you allowed your mind to go and think about what it would be like for you to see him win an NBA title here in New York?
After he won the rookie, not the rookie of the year, but he won the the rookie trophy at the game they have. I forgot what they call it.
The rookie sophomore challenge, yeah.
Yeah, so he won the MVP of that, right? At that point, I said, I will no longer say that nothing is able to be achieved by Jose Alvarado. So I've thought about him definitely winning an NBA championship. He's won on every level. He won at Georgia Tech an ACC championship. He won me a championship. And I can't, my mind goes there that I believe he's going to win the New York Knicks. Well, he's going to be part of a New York Knicks championship because he just brings that to whatever team he goes to. Now, it may be him sitting on the bench and working through that. I don't know, but in some way, he's going to help the New York Knicks win the championship.
I love it. That is music to the ears of Knicks fans. Yeah. They want to hear that. Jose Alvarado, new addition to the Knicks, coming over via the trade deadline last week. Now he's played 2 games with the Knicks, and hopefully we'll see him for many more games in a Knicks uniform. That is Joe Arbitello, principal, got to put that name, principal and head coach of the boys varsity basketball team at Christ the King in Middle Village, Queens. Joe, it was a pleasure, man. We haven't talked in a while. Good to see you. I got to see you again in person and come check out a game. Got to see the Royals play. It's been a while since I've come to see you guys play, but
you would love that.
This was good to connect, man. Good to see you again.
Definitely. Thank you so much, man. Once again, keep being great, man. Thank you so much.
Appreciate you. Thank you.